Now, can I take primitive data type as a method parameter and return type? Can I take primitive type as a parameter and return type? Is it valid void m1 into I? Yes or no? Yes, I can take primitive type as a parameter. Can I take object as a parameter, object as a return type? Yes, you can take object also as a parameter, object also as a return type. When to go for object as a parameter? When you want to supply group of values at a time, then we can go for object as a parameter. Can I pass multiple objects as a parameter? Yes, by using array, you can take multiple objects also as a parameter. When to go for method return type? When we need a return type for the method? When after performing the operation, after the logic got executed, our method should return some value. Can I return one int value from the method? Can I return string value? Can I return one object? Can I return object array? Yes. How to understand which return type I need to take? Requirement. Based on the requirement, we need to understand what signature we need to take and what body we need to write. Based on the requirement, we need to think and we need to write the logic for the method. What is the parameter? What is the return type? What is the logic? What we need to write? That you need to decide based on the requirement. Can you buttify the signature of the method? Will not work out, because for every requirement, method will be different. Method signature will be different. Method body will be different. Got it? Yes. Read this once again. Whatever we have studied in the last 1 week of time. Last 1 week, कब start हुआ? Oops. Deepavali पहले. Almost more than a week. Yes. Read it, all of you. Class is a plan or model. It contains variables and methods. Object is an entity which is used to access instance variables and instance methods of the class. Variables are used to store the data. Read this. Huh? Variables. Yes, they will be stored in the stack. Whenever the method is executed or when the class is in the method area, they will store first, because all the class code is storing in the method area. Sorry, static variables will be stored in the method area because they are part of the class code, right? They will store in the method area, not in the stack. Local variables will store in the stack. So that static variables will be stored in the method area. Completed? Good. Fine. Next, let me take one class. Student. Okay. I have taken a class called student. Inside the student class, integer ID, string name, integer age, and a string gender. Okay, I have 4 variables. These variables are static variables or instance variables. These variables are instance variables which I have declared inside the class and outside the method. Next one, let us go for main method. Let us go for main method. Can I access id is equal to, can I directly access like this? Id is equal to 102? No. Why? Instance variable should be accessed by using object. Did I create the object or I have not created the object? No. When the memory will be allocated for the instance variable, when the object is created, then only memory will be allocated for instance variable. Can you tell me how to create the object? Can I do like this? Student Raju is equal to new student. Student Raju is equal to new student. Now, can I do like this? Raju dot id is equal to 101. Raju dot name is equal to some Raju, and Raju dot age is equal to some 20, and Raju dot gender is equal to male. Is it valid? So what I have done now? I have created one object. Using that object, I have initialized instance variables of the class. When the object is created, then memory will be allocated for the instance variable. Using that object, I have initialized the instance variables of the class. Now, can I create one more object? Can I create one more object? Student Rani is equal to new student. Rani dot id is equal to some 102, and Rani dot name is equal to Rani. Then Rani dot age is equal to some 22, and Rani dot gender is equal to female. Okay. Is it valid? How many objects I have created? 2 objects. How many times memory allocated for instance variables? 2 times. 4 variables available. First, when the Raju object created, memory allocated for the 4 variables. When the Rani object created, memory allocated for the 4 variables. Perfect. Suppose now object I am creating and I am initializing the values for the variables. How many objects I have initialized? 2 objects I have initialized. Now I want to represent all the students who are available in the offline class. How many objects I need to create? How many times I need to initialize the variables? How many objects I need to create now? Number of students available. How many times I need to initialize the variable? Number of students now. Almost there are 50 to 60 people available in the offline. 50 objects I have to create, and 50 times I need to initialize the 4 variables. So how many lines of code I need to write? How many lines of code I need to write? 60 people are there. 60 lines just to create the object. 60 into 4. Right? So many lines of code I need to write just to initialize the variables. Are you guys getting my point? So my program lines, the number of lines of code is going to increase. But today, just for offline, I want to create the objects. Every student having a different name, different age. Okay, I have to initialize all the values for every student. Only for offline 60 members are there. If I take online also, 120 people are available. 120 plus 60, 180 objects I have to create. If I create 180 objects, how many times memory will be allocated for the instance variables? 180 times memory will be allocated for the instance variable. 180 students having the different names, different age, different gender, different ID. For every student, 4 lines. 180 into 4. 720 lines of code I have to write to represent all the students belongs to my class. Is it easy? Is it recommended? No. This is not the recommended way to initialize the instance variables of the class. If I follow this approach, 750 lines of code I have to write. Are you guys getting my point? 180 students are available. 180 lines I have to write only to create the object, and 720 lines I need to write to initialize. 720 plus 180. 900 lines of code I have to write in my program. Will you recommend that? So if I go to my Java project batch, 300 people are available. Then how many lines of code I need to write? 1500 lines of code I have to write to represent the students. Is it recommended? No. That's where constructors came into picture. Understood? So now, if you want to initialize the variable, you don't need to write like this. If you write like this, the number of lines of the code is going to increase. Easily, we can initialize instance variables of the class in the single line by using constructor. What is the purpose of constructor? Constructor is used to initialize instance variables of the class. That's it. Simple. We already know what is a class. We already know what is a variable. We know what is initialization. What is a class? Come on. Class is a plan or model which represents variables and methods. What is the purpose of variables? Variables are used to store the data. Now my class is having 4 instance variables. I want to represent all the students available in the class. For every student, one object will be created. 4 properties are available. Create one object, initialize the properties. Create second object, initialize the properties. Create the third object, initialize the properties. Create the 90th object, initialize the properties. The lines of code is going to increase. Okay. Initializing the variables for all the students is a lengthy process. Number of lines of code is going to increase. To overcome this problem, Java provided one concept, one beautiful concept available in the Java, which is called constructor. Which is called as constructor. What is constructor? Why we need to go for constructor? And how to work with the constructor, that we have to understand. What is our next topic? Constructor. Now observe, first I will write some points about the constructor, then we will work with that. Constructor. It is a special method in Java. It is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class variables, current class instance variables. Got my point? Read the definition. It is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class instance variables. As of now, how I am initializing current class instance variables? By using object reference dot variable is equal to value. I am initializing my variable like this. From now onwards, we can use a concept called constructor. What is constructor? Constructor is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class instance variables. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor should not have return type. For constructor, we should not write the return type, not even void also. For the method, return type is mandatory. If a method don't want to return anything, then you will go for void. But for constructor, no return type, not even void. Constructor should not return anything. What is the duty of the constructor? It is used to initialize the instance variables of the current class. That is very important. Constructor is used to initialize the instance variables of the current class. It is a special method without return type. Method is used to perform the operation. Method will have a return type. Constructor ka kaam just initialize the variables. Don't return anything. Constructor will not have any return type. Constructor will not have any return type, not even void. If you write return type for the constructor, it will become a method. That is no more constructor. If you write a return type for the constructor, that is not a constructor. That will be considered as a method. Okay, note. If we write return type for the constructor, if we write return type for the constructor, then it will become method. It will become method. Yes, read these points. Constructor is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class instance variables. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor will not have any return type, not even void. If we write return type for the constructor, then it will become method. Now, what is the syntax for the constructor? What is the syntax for the constructor? Now, class, for example, demo is my class name. Class demo is my class name. Then constructor will become demo. That's it. That's it. This is called as a constructor. Am I following the rules? Yes. What is the first rule? Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor will not have any return type. So class name is what? Demo. What is my constructor name? Demo. Do I have any return type? If I write void, it is a method. If you write a return type, it will become method. For the constructor, no return type. Can I take a parameter? Yes, parameters you can take for the constructor, but return type cannot be available for the constructor. Now, can you tell me how to create a object for a class? Demo D is equal to new demo. Can I say it is object creation? That means if you want to create the object, you are calling the constructor. What is that? Constructor. So whenever you create the object, constructor will be called automatically. You no need to call it. Creating the object matlab calling the constructor. Creating the object means calling the constructor. What is the proof? I will show you that. Now let me take a program. This is a student program, right? Yeah. Let me take one employee program. New class employee. New class employee. Okay. My class name is employee. Right. Inside that, can you tell me constructor? How can I write a constructor? Employee. Employee. Can I say it is a constructor? Yes. Can I write one statement? So the employee constructor. Employee constructor. Write a main method. Can I create the object? How to create the object? Employee emp is equal to new employee. Employee emp is equal to new employee. What is this? Can I say that I'm calling the constructor? Yes. Run this program. Run this program. Can you see that message printed? So whatever is there in the SOP, is it printing or not? So what is the meaning of that? Constructor is calling or constructor is not calling? Constructor is calling. When the constructor is calling, people in the interview, they will ask a question. Constructor will be called before object creation or after object creation? Before or after? Typical Indian mentality. If I give two answers, you will choose one, but both are wrong. If I give you two answers, you will choose one, but both are wrong answers. Constructor will not execute before object or after the object. Constructor will execute during the object creation. While object is creating, our constructor will be executed. Are you guys getting my point? Yes. Now tell me, when the constructor will be executed? During the object creation, constructor will be executed. Object creation nothing but calling the constructor only. So here, can you see the syntax of the constructor? Constructor name should be same as the class name. Constructor should not have a return type. Constructor should not have a return type. So whatever the constructor I have, whatever I am calling here, both are same or not. So what is the meaning of object creation? Object creation means calling the constructor. When the object is creating, constructor will be called. What is the purpose of the constructor? To initialize instance variables of the current class. If you want to initialize the instance variables of the class, then we need to go for constructor. Then you may get a doubt. Sir, if I don't write the constructor also, I am able to create the object now? How? How I am able to create the object? My class does not have a constructor now, but still I am able to create the object. I am able to call the constructor. What is happening there? There is a simple point that we need to understand. JVM is intelligent. JVM is intelligent. Whenever you write a class, JVM will understand that this person, this programmer may create the object for the class in future. Currently he is not creating, but he is writing the class. But बाद में object create कर सकता है. That person can create the object in the future. If that person want to create the object, that person needs a constructor. So that's why not JVM. First, whenever we write the Java program, Java compiler will check, does this class is having any constructor or not? Do I have any constructor? No. When your class does not have any constructor, Java compiler will add the constructor for your class, not the JVM. Forget about the JVM. So Java compiler will check, does this class is having any constructor or not? If the class does not have the constructor, then Java compiler will add the constructor. Sir, what is the proof? What is the proof? You are saying some statement, but prove it. Can I prove that now? Yes. Chalo. Let me take one program. You Sara program delete maro. New text document employee.java. I'm taking one class with a name called employee.java. Okay. I'm taking a class employee. Taking a class called employee. Am I writing any constructor? So just I have created a class. Class name. Just to close this file. I have my class. Can I compile my class? Yes. Open command prompt Java C employee.java. Class compile. When the class is compiled, what happened? Dot class file is generated. Can I see the dot class file? समझ में आ रहा है कुछ? No, that is what? It is a byte code. I have created a source code. That source code I have compiled. It generated the byte code. Is it in the readable format? Can I read that bytecode? No. Now I will use one command, that is Java P, Java profiler. As of now we used Java compiler. Now I am using Java profiler. Java P space employee. Now can you see? Whatever the code I have written, whatever the code available, matching or not matching? Not matching, not matching. Why? What is the difference you have seen? Constructor is added. JVM added or compiler added? Compiler added. Why it is adding? Why it is adding? Because my class does not have a constructor. That's why compiler is adding the default constructor. Because of this reason, we are able to create the objects till today. Till today, we created the objects for our classes without having the constructor. The reason our compiler is adding one default constructor for our class. Are you guys able to understand? Yes, tell me. What is constructor? Why we need constructor? Constructor is a special method in the Java. What is the purpose of that? It is used to initialize the current class instance variable. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor should not have a return type. By mistake, if you write the return type, that will become method. That is not a constructor. Writing the constructor in the class is mandatory or optional? Optional. If you don't write, compiler will write that. If you write it, compiler will not write it. Got it? Can I prove that also? Right. Now, here I have my employee.java. In this class, just a class is available. There is no constructor. I am compiling my program. When I compile, dot class file is generated. How to see the code in the dot class? Java P space class name. Java P space class name. When I execute it, compiled from employee.java boss. This class is compiled by using employee.java. I have written the class constructor added by the compiler. Perfect. Now let me add my own constructor. Let me add my own constructor. Can I write like this? Employee, once upon a time he is a student only, na? Employee means once upon a time he is student only, right? Can I write like this? No. Why? Class name should be same as the constructor name. So employee, here I need to use employee. It is a special method. That's why method syntax we are following. Curly braces available, that constructor starting point, constructor ending point. It is something like a method. Can I do like this? Is it valid or not? Try. Java C employee.java. It is not valid, incorrect. वो तो लैंग्वेज वाला है ना, वो कुछ भी कर सकते भाई, वो लोग कुछ भी कर सकते, बट हम नहीं कर सकते. Right. So you should not write like this. Constructor means it has to follow method syntax. What is the meaning of method syntax? Body is mandatory. Body is mandatory. Now, can I say my class is having a constructor? Yes, I am writing the constructor. If a compiler also adding the constructor, there should be two constructors. Right. Can we prove that? Can we check that? Yes. Compile this. Java C employee.java Java space employee. Java C, I have compiled my program. Then Java P, just class name. Now, two constructors available or one constructor is available? One constructor. This time, compiler is adding the constructor or compiler not adding the constructor? Not adding. Why? Why compiler not adding? Because I have declared the constructor in the class. When we write the constructor, compiler will not add. If we don't write the constructor, then compiler will add the constructor. No, that they are just showing that constructor is added. That is not for our execution purpose. That is just to say that constructor is added, not for execution. Okay? Huh? Kya? No, that is different story, man. Huh? सिंटैक्स ऐसी है ना, इसलिए सिंटैक्स ऐसी है, इसलिए I am not saying that method. I am saying that it is a special method. Special मतलब return type नहीं है. Good. Fine. हाँ. Why come? Hold on, man. Just let me listen to him. What is your question, buddy? Reason is to allow you to create the objects. If it is not adding the constructor, can you create the object for the class? You cannot. So Java is a object oriented programming language. You are creating the class. Class is just a plan. You cannot do anything with the class. You will write a method. To call the method, you need the object. To create the object, you need the constructor. Instead of you are doing that, compiler providing that. Got it? Yes, compiler is giving you that constructor so that you can create the objects for your class. Right. Take it? Fine. So with this we understood what is a constructor and why we need a constructor. Constructor is a special method to initialize current class instance variable. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor will not have any return type, not even void. You should not write the void also. If we write return type for the constructor, then it will become method. So class demo, this is a constructor. I'm creating the object. Inside this constructor, you can write some logic. When we create the object, then constructor will be executed. At the time of object creation, our class constructor will be executed. Can I say constructor is mandatory to create the object? No. Yes, it's mandatory. If the constructor is not mandatory, how can you call like this? Object creation means constructor we are calling. So can I say constructor is mandatory to create the object? Yes, constructor is mandatory to create the objects. Constructor is mandatory to create the object. If I don't write the constructor, compiler is adding or JVM is adding? Compiler. If we don't write the constructor, then Java compiler adding one default constructor for our class. It is adding one default constructor to our class. How can we prove that? By using Java P class name. We can check the default constructor using below command. What is the command? Java P, Java profiler. We can check default constructor for the class using below command. So whatever the constructor which is adding by our Java compiler, can I call it as a default constructor? Yes, this is called as a default constructor. Who is adding the default constructor? Programmer is adding or compiler is adding? Compiler is adding. As a programmer, if I add the constructor in the class, if we write the constructor in the class, then what is the Java compiler behavior? If we write constructor in the class, then compiler will not add any constructor. If you don't write it, then only compiler will add. If you write it, compiler will not add. Are you guys able to follow me? Yes. When compiler will add the constructor? When compiler will not add the constructor? When the programmer not writing the constructor in the class, then compiler is adding. When the programmer writing the constructor, then compiler not adding. Why compiler adding? What is the reason behind that? to allow the programmers to create the objects. To create the object, constructor is mandatory. When the constructor will be executed? During the object creation. Do I need to call the constructors like a method? Do I need to call the constructors like a method? No. What is the purpose of a method? Methods are used to perform the operation. When the methods will be executed? When they called. When they called. Methods are used to perform the operation. Any logic you can execute by using method. Whenever you write the method, you need to call the method. If you call the method, then only it is going to execute. Method can take the parameter, method can have the return type. But what is the constructor? Constructor is used to initialize the variables. Constructor is used to initialize the object. Got it? When the constructor will be called? When the object is created. You no need to call the constructor. If you create the object, automatically constructor will be executed. When the constructor is executed, instance variables will be initialized with the default values. Who is initializing our instance variables with the default values? Now we are matured, not the JVM. JVM will tell to constructor, constructor will do that initialization. Understood? Huh? Right. Whenever you born, did you eat biryani? No. Step by step. Step by step. Okay? Now, who is initializing the instance variables? JVM or constructor? Constructor. So our instance variables are initializing with the default values with the help of constructor only. Constructor is a special method which does not have a return type. Normal methods will have a return type. Constructor is a special method which will not have the return type. From now, we need to remember that. Instance variables are initializing by constructor, not by the JVM. So when we are discussing the variables, you don't know constructor. That's why I told that JVM is initializing. Now we got the maturity. We are correcting that statement. Who is initializing instance variables? Constructor with the default values. All right. Yes, sir. No. Whenever the constructor is executing, it will be stored in the stack. Once the constructor execution completed, it will remove that. Yes, right. Fine. Now, guys, in the Java, constructors are divided into two types. Methods also divided into two types. Na? What are those methods? Instance method is available, static method is available. Similarly, constructors also divided into two types. Come on, what type of those? Instance constructor, static. I am expecting that answer. That is for methods. Methods are instance and static, right? Constructors, there is no instance constructor, there is no static constructor. That is parameterized constructor and no parameterized constructor. So constructors are divided into how many types? Constructors are divided into two types. First one is, I thought that people will say static constructor, instance constructor. All right. So constructors are divided into two types, guys. Constructors are divided into two types. What are those two types of the constructors? Come on, guys. First one is a zero parameterized constructor and the second one is a parameterized constructor. This zero parameterized constructor can also called as a default constructor. Not JVM. Java compiler will add the constructor when we don't write that. If we write it, it will not add it. So we can take two types of constructors in the class. One is zero parameterized constructor and the second one is a parameterized constructor. What is a zero parameterized constructor? Constructors without any parameter. Can I write a method also without parameter? Yes. Similarly, we can write the constructor without parameters is called as zero param constructor. For example, if I take class as a student, now I will write student. Right. Now, any parameters available? Any parameters available? Parameters are not available. So that can be called as a zero parameterized constructor. Zero param constructor. Zero param constructor, or we can call it as a default constructor. Then what is parameterized constructor? The constructor which is having one or more. It can have more. It can have two. It can have three. It can have 10 also. The constructor which contains one or more parameters is called as a parameterized constructor. How can we take this? Class student, here I can take int I comma int b, int I comma int b. So parameters available or not available? Parameters are available. So can I call this as a parameterized constructor? Yes. Can I call this as a zero param constructor? Yes. How many types of constructors available? There are two types of constructors available. One is zero param constructor, another one is parameterized constructor. The constructor which does not have the parameters, it is called zero param constructor. The constructor which is having the parameters is called as parameterized constructor. If the class is having parameterized constructor, we need to pass the values for the constructor while creating the object. Are you guys getting my point? Now, see here, I'm taking a class called employee. I'm creating the object. So can I say object creation means calling the constructor? Yes. Do I have the constructor or I don't have it? I have it. Compiler is added. Got it? I have it. That means compiler is added. That's why I am able to create the object. Am I passing any value? No. Why? By default, the class is having a default constructor which is added by Java compiler. Now, if I am writing like this, can I say constructor? What kind of constructor it is? What kind of constructor it is? Zero param constructor. I am writing that. If I am writing the constructor, compiler will add or compiler will not add? Will not add. If I don't write, then only compiler will add. If I write it, compiler will not add it. Okay. Let me write SOP, system.out.println, hello. What is the output of this program? Hello. Why? I am creating the object. Object creation means calling the constructor. Now, when this constructor is called, the logic available in the constructor will be executed. System.out.println, hello. Run this program. Yes. Am I getting hello? Yes, I'm getting hello. Okay. Here, I'm going to take integer I. Error आ रहा है भाई. Why we are getting the error? My constructor is expecting a parameter, but I am not passing that. This is the proof to say that it is trying to call the constructor. Which constructor it is trying to call? It is a zero param constructor na. Which constructor it is trying to call? It is trying to, in the line number 10, which constructor it is trying to call? Zero param constructor. But why it is not able to call? In the program, we don't have zero param constructor. In the program, we are having only parameterized constructor. That's why we are getting the error. Okay. If I remove this parameter, Okay, my program is having 0 param. I am also calling the 0 param. It is matching. It is going to execute. But when my constructor is having a parameter, my program trying to call the 0 param. Oh, nahi hai bhai udhar. That constructor is not available. Why compiler not adding? Why compiler not adding 0 param? There is a constructor. Programmer writing the constructor. That's why compiler not adding the constructor. That is the point you have to remember. If you write any constructor, whether it is a 0 param or whether it is a parameterized, compiler will not add it. If you don't write any constructor, then only compiler will add it. In my program, which constructor is available? In my program, which constructor is available? Parameter constructor. But I am trying to create the object by calling 0 param, which is not available. That's why my program is failing. Now tell me how to create the object. How to create the object? I should create the object by calling 0 param constructor or parameterized constructor. Parameter constructor. What is the parameter it is expecting? Integer. It is expecting integer. Can I pass the number as 100? Yes, it is valid. Now which constructor I am calling? Parameterized constructor. Can we run the program? What is the output? Hello or hello 100? Hello only, because I am not using the variable, man. That variable is available, but am I using that? I am not using that. I'm not using that. Okay. Can I take like this integer j? Can I say that integer j? How many parameters available? 2. So it is a parameterized constructor or 0 param constructor? Parameter constructor. Why? Because my constructor is having 2 parameters. Can I have 3 parameters also? Yes. Now, instead of writing this, can I do I plus j? Yes or no? I plus j. Now, which constructor is available in my program? Parameterized. Which constructor I am calling? Parameterized. But why error? My program is having constructor with 2 parameters, but I am calling constructor with 1 parameter. It is not matching. If a constructor is expecting 2 parameters, you have to create the object by passing 2 parameters. Let me pass 100 comma 200. Valid or not? Valid. Okay. Now output 300. Why 300? Integer I, integer j, I am calling the parameterized constructor with 2 int values. So this 100 will be stored into I variable, 200 will be stored into j variable, I plus j, 100 plus 200, 300 will be printed. Yes, you understand how to call the constructor? Yes. So constructors are divided into how many types? 2 types. What are those? 0 parameter constructor and parameterized constructor. And now, if I want to create the object, I need to call the constructor. My class is having parameterized constructor. I am calling the object. I am creating the object by calling the parameterized constructor. Can I take 3 parameters also? Yes, we can take the 3 parameters also for a constructor. Yes, now I hope you got the clarity. Yes, please read it. Ajamua. Who is that Ajamu? Yeah, read it. Come on. Same class. Same class. We can't do. Every class should have its own constructor. Come on, guys, read it. Every class will have its own constructor. Demo class, its own constructor. Can I go for advanced? If you want to, you guys can join for JRTP for next 10 days, no problem. Because the next 10 days that I'm going to explain Maven GitHub, that is required for you people also, but not now, but at least you will get some idea. Same link. Website pe hai na? In this website you can see that. यही तो लिंक है. Today yes, no. Tomorrow no class. We have next class on Monday. Monday we are going to understand the tools. What are the tools available in that? You can join if you want. Guys, next 10 days you guys also can attend the classes for the JRTP because the Zoom link is there, online class. The reason is I'm going to explain some tools in the classes. GitHub. That GitHub is required for you also. GitHub means multiple developers will be available. Code integration एक ही place पे होना चाहिए. For that we'll use GitHub. Again, for you people, I will explain the GitHub when we come for the project level. If you are interested to learn the now, you can attend, but not mandatory. Yeah, please read it. No, sir, that not for us. That UI batch is not for us. Not for us. Yeah, that is not for us. That is not our batch. Okay. No. Huh? No. That is a different institute batch. Yes, guys, come on. Still, I'm finalizing the trainer for our UI classes. I'm checking with the trainers. Today I had 2 to 3 sessions with the trainers for our UI, but they are not satisfying me. If I take all these many classes now, मेरा wife me जो divorce देगा, institute में मर जाओ आप. Right, fine. So we are trying. Come on, guys. We are trying to understand which concept. We are trying to understand constructor. What is a constructor? Constructor is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class instance variable. Constructor name should be same as class name. Constructor will not have any return type, not even void. If we write a return type for the constructor, it will become method. Class name, constructor name. Every constructor will have a body. Constructor will have a body.